Hey friends, it is Jamie here with Milk Allergy Mom, where we've been encouraging food allergy families for over a decade. And we are so excited to have one of our favorite guests on today, my allergist, Dr. Siri.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Board certified allergist, immunologist, OIT doctor. That's a title I give you.
Okay, I'll take
pretty
it.
all-inclusive.
I accept.
Yes. And today we promised to be on talking about back to school because it's that time.
Yep.
The summer's flown by, and we are doing a whole back to school series inside of the Milk Allergy Mom private support group. But for your video today, I thought let's pump it out to the public because you sent me your list of ideas, and you have so many awesome things on here that I have not thought about. And so I'm excited to get into them with you.
Great.
Let's do it. All right, back to school tips from an allergist, and they are wonderful. Your big overlying umbrella was to
Prepare.
prepare.
Yes. Prepare. Preparation's a key. More knowledge is better.
So
for sure.
winging school is not the best idea with food allergies and asthma.
Not the best idea, but I think most parents who are out there know that, and it's just that rush of getting things done. So really planning in advance and having the time to do all these things is really helpful. So
that is true because there's so many lists that we're checking off with back to school. We have the school supplies the teachers want us to get. I actually made myself a mom back to school list the other day, so it included good coffee, a nice mug, some running shoes. I thought I should get some new PE shoes for myself, and
what a great idea.
Yeah, Milk Allergy Mom membership. Thought that sounded like a great thing to be on a mom's to-do list.
Yeah.
So, but there's also the not so fun lists that are actually, unfortunately, coming from you, which is really the important things to keep our kiddos extra safe beyond school supplies and new clothes for school. So
yes. And no matter what your child has, whether it's an allergy, asthma, or some other health concern, it's always good to be prepared. So
it is. I like to be prepared. So let's help them. All right, the first thing that we were going to talk about was plans. You said be prepared, have a plan. There's lots of different kinds of plans out there. What kind of tips do you have for us about making those school plans, those official papers?
So the standard things are typically the asthma action plan if your child has asthma, even intermittent asthma, exercise-induced asthma, sports asthma, the food allergy action plan, and of course, for some kids with severe food allergies or concerns, they have an individualized health plan or what we call a 504 plan. And so making sure you download all those forms in advance, making sure that some schools and school districts have their own specific forms, so you have to have both their forms and maybe your forms, and having those prepared before you go see your allergist, and then after that, before you go to the school with them, because you're going to need your physician or allergist to sign off on those things before that happens. And we're dumbing this down to brand new parents because some people have never had their child go to school, and so these things are applicable. Even if you homeschool, they're applicable for some events and things like that.
They are, and I'm a homeschooler, but yeah, I'm just realizing how much my son has. The one that doesn't have the food allergy does have asthma when he exercises only, so we don't see a lot of problems with that. But if I were to send him to school, put him in PE, I am certain that we would need some kind of official plan. I mean, he goes to the park and runs around too much, and I'm having to help him. So if I'm putting him in somebody else's care, even down to that, like you said,
Right.
An exercise asthma is going to need some specific plan because asthma can become dangerous,
Yes.
If it gets out of hand. So that is really helpful. So all of that encompasses paper, sheets, and
Yes.
things that we can print off that are out there. Our parents are resourceful and know where to find those.
Yes.
But those actual plans. And again, I just in recent years learned that there is an asthma action plan as much as there is a food allergy food allergy action plan. And asthma is just as important as food allergy when we're preparing for school.
Yes, and as you know, the kids who have a tendency to have worse outcomes are the kids who have asthma as well. So
Right.
even if it's mild or intermittent. So once you collect all those forms and things like that and get them from the school district, get your own forms, then you can be ready, pre-fill out whatever you can, photos, etc., and then go in and make an appointment with your allergist, not only to talk about the plans, but also to update the medications, to get new prescriptions, to talk about what maybe is not needed anymore. And if necessary or advised, you can also do things like testing, because we have a lot of requests to get tested before kids go to kindergarten.
Yes.
Because maybe they don't know if that allergy is still there, or they just want to update.
I was one of those that came into you before kindergarten started and said, I need to know where we're at, because if we're going to do school, which we thought we were going to do public school, I need to know what I'm working with to make my plan. Mm-hmm. So once they've got all those papers printed out and ready to go, do they actually bring them into their appointment with you, and then you kind of start looking at the status of the child at that current time, and then kind of work on those papers together?
Correct. Yes.
Cool.
And then we do the education part with that, together at the same time. And let's just say there are things we're waiting for. We might fill out a preliminary food allergy action plan and then say, we can update this when we have more information if there's a blood test or a food challenge later on. So at least they are prepared to have something in school, which is helpful.
I love it, because we always have questions about where our child is at, and it really does take a good exam and a good conversations with your doctor to really understand what you're dealing with. They may have outgrown a food allergy, they may have added in asthma, you may be trying to control eczema. There's a lot of different factors, and a good allergist will help you look at the whole big picture, which is what we talk a lot about here at Milk Allergy Mom, where you aren't just going in and saying, let's look at the food allergy and be on our way to school, but a good doctor will actually look at the whole child and get you really comfortable and confident about what you're going into the school to talk about.
Right.
Awesome. I love it. Let's see. You said to bring in their peak flow. I didn't know about, what is that? I'm not a big asthma mom, so I know it has to do with asthma.
Yes, so if you have been given a peak flow device, or perhaps you're interested in one, it's a simple tool that is just kind of a rough measure of how the kid's lung function might be doing. It's not perfect, of course, and it's not like the full breathing test, but for many parents it's helpful because they want to know if their kids are irritable or just complaining, if they're actually having problems with their asthma. And so the peak flow is a good kind of measure for that. If they're maybe complaining that they're short of breath or winded, or perhaps they need to look at the response to a rescue inhaler, that's helpful. Some people will do it, every single day. Some people will do it episodically. Maybe the kid's getting a respiratory infection. They want to know if it's affecting their lungs. So there's a lot of ways to use a peak flow meter. And if they have one, peak flow or lung function is a measure of, or a function of height. So as the child goes taller and gets older, their peak flows are going to change. So it's helpful to be in the doctor's office with the peak flow device that you have or you're going to use, so they can actually put those on the asthma action.
Oh, I gotcha. So the asthmatic kiddos, they own their own, and when they come into you, when you put on your list to bring all the forms that you can help them fill out, bring all their medicines that they're on so you can help them go over the medicines, to bring their peak flow, and so that meant they already use that little device in families that are dealing with asthma, and you can help them work with that device to figure out their status right now.
Correct.
And then they take their device back with them. So you're not getting out some weird thing at the office that they're not going to be accustomed to.
And we always recommend people bring in all their medications, because maybe there are some that they haven't checked that are expired. Maybe they need assistance using the inhaler because maybe their kids aren't doing it right. Or maybe they used to do a spacer device for asthma, and now they actually want to see if they can graduate to without using it because it's cumbersome to carry.
So many things to get a handle on before going back to school. So true. I kind of broke it down to talk to your allergist, to ask questions, and then to possibly test anything that you need more answers on.
Correct.
So go in ready to talk, ask questions, and possibly do some testing so you know the latest and greatest status.
Right.
All right. So our first one was get those printed plans printed off. Number 2, go to your doctor, your allergist. And my third one we've got is meet with school.
Yes.
So you actually are more of an expert on this than I am, because we do homeschool, but you have kids in school, and so you sound like you totally know what you're talking about here.
The school is a complicated issue because every school is different. Every school has, their own training, their own rules. Every, school, it may be the same in the entire district. It may be specific to the school. It depends if it's public or private. There's a lot of issues. And then some have stock EpiPens and epinephrine auto-injectors, and some don't. But either way, once you have all those forms filled out and you have a plan, so when you talk to your allergist, you want to be very clear with your allergist about how, if an emergency happens, whether it's asthma, food allergy, anaphylaxis to insect stings, what you want done. And your allergist is always going to, say epinephrine is the first line of defense for any anaphylactic reactions. And so if you feel uncomfortable with that for any reason, you're not really sure how to use the device, you really should discuss that with your doctor first. And then make a clear, solidified plan about what to do. And then when you approach the school, that same clarity applies, because it's happened so many times, and luckily not as often as we think, but so many times we hear about in the news where a child is having a reaction and nobody knows what to do. Or maybe the instructions were vague, and they called the parent, and the parent's like, "Why didn't you give my child an EpiPen?" Or an epinephrine auto-injector, apologies. So you want to be clear about where the line is. When should your child receive emergency treatment? Should your child call you and try to go home first? Usually the answer is no. Should your child wait it out and then get some Benadryl first? Usually for an anaphylactic reaction, the answer is no. So if you're uncomfortable with any of those scenarios, you should discuss it with your allergist, so that then when you meet with them, of course, you'll be prepared. And we typically say, there are a few people who are key. There are the, which some people don't think about. There are the lunchroom or cafeteria ladies, if your child's going to be served food. There's, and they also are responsible for monitoring things like choking, etc. And so those ladies are quite important. They have a very important job to do. There's the teacher and teacher's aide. There's the school nurse, if you have one. So if you are new at the school and you don't know if you have a nurse, you want to find out, when is the nurse there?
Right.
And then, of course, there's the principal, because you want to know who's trained to treat your child. What happens if somebody's sick? What happens if there's a sub? What about changes in staff? All these things are important. Where is the medication going to be kept? Is it going to be on your child? Is it going to be away from your child? Is the box going to be locked? How many other children in the school, are they familiar with the processes? Some schools are really awesome. Like there's one school in our area where they actually have allergy emergency drills. I mean, I've not heard of that in many other places. Some places are completely clueless, and they're like, well, you're the only child that has a special need, and we're not really sure what to do with your child.
Right.
So having that knowledge before you go in is helpful. And, of course, being prepared. So we talked about creating not only just bringing your asthma and allergy action plans, but maybe have it, they're pretty cheap. Those little sleeves.
Yeah.
That you put, like plastic sleeve. It's nice because
Page protectors.
Yeah, there you go.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
I'm an office supply junkie.
Yeah. So that's nice to have, because then, at least if you give something with all those plans, maybe something that includes your child's picture at the very front, listing their food allergies, and for some people, listing things right there, like what this could be called. Like milk can be also called whey or casein, or, other things that have milk products in them, for example. Those things can be helpful, and you can offer it. I mean, the school doesn't have to take it, but you could say, hey, would you lunch ladies like to pin this up somewhere, for you, in case there's change of staff, so you know my child and you know what he or she can have. Or perhaps for the teachers, is when you're subbing or you're out, or the teacher's aide, would you like this in the classroom? And so any kind of work that you do, I think that the school will be appreciate how helpful it is. And certainly, I think that it's also important to not take up too much of their time, because they've got a lot of kids with a lot of issues. And so having all that in mind, having a clear plan, knowing about the school, then you can at least be respectful of everybody's time when you do have those meetings.
That's true. Yeah. So yesterday in the Milk Allergy Mom private support group, we had a mom who is a food allergy blogger from Canada. She broke it down really easily, the steps to communicating with the school.
Great.
And it was awesome, and it falls right in line with what you're saying. So what I'm hearing you say is you can email ahead of time, get some of their information, their protocols, their experience or not experience. Then when you go in for your brief meeting, you kind of know what you're dealing with ahead of time. You know if they're rocking food allergies or if they're completely clueless, and asthma. So you can go in prepared to work with what within the confines of what they're already used to.
Yes.
One thing you mentioned was find out if they let kids self-carry or not. That's an issue to discuss. You've talked about whether there's epi available in PE or in the nurse's office. How there's parties and snacks work. That's always a big topic around here.
Yes.
How the snacks work in school.
Let's talk about that. So, it is helpful for the school if, your child has a severe food allergy to, help them not feel excluded, is if you have a non-perishable treat. If you know that the school allows food treats, some schools don't now. Some schools only have toy treats and other things like that. But if they allow food treats and there might be an event, a party, a day, or maybe it's a snack every single day, it would behoove you to offer to have something as an alternative in case something gets brought in that your child can't eat.
Right.
Or maybe if you're nervous about the teacher's knowledge, because we've heard this a lot, where, teachers, have a lot to think about. They can't be allergy experts as well, so they don't always necessarily know. And, we have one example of a child who got chocolate, who has a milk allergy, and the teacher didn't know that chocolate is called milk chocolate for a reason.
Yes.
They didn't think about that, So, we assume that people know the things that we know, and we have to put ourselves in the shoes of somebody who is healthy, doesn't have to know about these medical things, may not know a lot about foods and food products. And so, you want to be very explicit, make it as dumb as possible. And so other things such as, after school activities, before school activities, if you drop them off for pre-care, aftercare, if they go on field trips, if they are in after school activities and sports, who's going to carry the medicine? Who's responsible for knowing how to treat your child with anaphylaxis? Is there going to be a nurse available during those times or not? Who carries the medication? So, for example, the teacher may go on a field trip, and maybe the chaperone, maybe it could be you. Maybe they're the ones who carry the medication with the child. And so there's all these things to think about, not just the school setting itself.
Yeah, all the different scenarios, where the medicine is, who knows how to use it. That is key. And your overall thing with that was epinephrine is the go-to in anaphylaxis, and you want to make sure that all of those players in the picture know, once you've talked to your allergist and figured out, yes, epinephrine there's a big reaction, that's what we need, and I need to make sure that all of these people who are taking care of my child know that too.
Right.
Yes, which can be a task to get all that done, but it's doable. Like you said, if you're clear, if you're respectful of their time, if you can be, concise with what the plans are going to be, have those sheets up with your child's picture wherever you can have them up in school that they let you. Sounds like it would be a lot easier to keep things under control.
And make sure the plans are also with the medication. You can create a cute little kit with all the medications.
Right. Good idea. Like that. And you also said retrieve expired meds. Are some people leaving them at school over the summer and find out?
Yes, it depends if the school's open for the summer, if they have summer programs. Some schools close it all at the end of the year and say, come get all your meds. And some people just forget, and then they throw them out at the end of the year. But if you have anything and they have something in the bin, you want to basically make sure it's updated.
Because I can see that, some parent thinking, well, school has what they need from last year or whatever, and I'm going to go get mine updated for me. And then you kind of forget. Like, I do that kind of with grandparents even. Just I forget what the status of their meds are. So make sure the school has good meds too. I want to add, I spoke once at a daycare and learned that parents were separating dual EpiPacks for one pen to be at home and one pen to be at daycare. And I was like, oh my, that's a big no-no. You always want to have a dual pack together. You always want the two together. And whenever I post that at Milk Allergy Mom, many people are surprised and tag friends they know not to separate those. You always want two.
Yeah, it's so hard especially with the cost of medication.
I know.
And people want to be able to dispense them in different places and save money because these hopefully are something you will never use. At the same time, if the child is having severe reaction, it's up to 20-30% that may need two or more. And so it's very challenging, that whole discussion about 1 versus 2 EpiPens, because most countries, they can't afford to have more than one. And I don't mean just EpiPen, I mean any auto injector, because there's so many varieties now. But there's still really aggressive programs out there from different manufacturers that help you get them for cost or cheap. There are many devices out there, Adrenaclick, AviQ, the generics of some of those, besides EpiPen. Some of them still sponsor the school access programs where you can have them at school so that they have some backups, or in case the pen doesn't work correctly.
That's what I was gonna say. Even if you just have one and it doesn't work correctly, then you don't have a backup either.
Yeah. I'll tell you a story is that we supervise allergy clinics, and we allow our primary care doctors sometimes to inject allergy shots. And they had one EpiPen for one of my patients who was getting an allergy shot at their office, and the nurse I think wasn't familiar with how to use it and injected when the patient was having an anaphylactic reaction to an allergy shot. nurse ended up injecting herself in the thumb with the only EpiPen they had.
Oh my god!
So you can see why it's important to make sure that there's more than one around.
To make sure there's more than one, to make sure people know how to use them. Yes.
For a
oh
variety
my
of
goodness,
reasons,
for a variety of reasons. So we have covered a lot about meeting with schools, different things that you can work together with the schools on, having your posters up, involving cafeteria workers, bus drivers. That's one that always sticks in my mind. I would really want to make sure a bus driver knew what to do. We've heard stories, you know, that would have been helpful. The nurses, substitute teachers, aides, playground supervisors. I'm sure there's all kinds of roles in school where they are somebody, and a certain adult is in charge of the child at that time.
And you know, again, you can't assume. So at least here in our district, we had a child some years ago who choked. And so this was a food emergency, but it wasn't anaphylaxis. And none of the cafeteria workers knew how to do the Heimlich maneuver. So it just happened that the security guard had taken a CPR course recently and knew how to save that child's life. But, you know, you can't assume that people know just because they work at the school.
Wow.
So, you know, just having a personal relationship, you know, chatting with them, knowing what their comfort level, and everybody wants their child to be safe. So I think a lot of people are willing to kind of, you know, gain some knowledge.
Which is why it's important to have that meeting, I would think. You can really gauge what's going on there. All right, we've talked about field trips and medicine after school and on field trips and before school programs. All those things are important, including your school day. So to be thinking about all the different school activities. I love this step. Review it all with your child. So you and I were talking a little bit before we got on about how a lot of times we get so ramped up about educating all the adults, but really our little ones need to know the basics to keep themselves safe too. So what would you say on that?
Right, and I've seen the whole gamut, and you know, this you know, it's so important for the child to be involved at every step. So they should come to the appointment, and perhaps some children are more anxious than others, but you know, you can prepare them for the visit and say, you know, you're not going to get injected. There's no shots today, unless of course they're getting skin testing. But we're just going to talk about, you know, food safety and things like that. Those things should be conversations to have, and you know, I definitely am a helicopter parent, I can tell you that. But sometimes we are so focused on keeping our child safe, we forget to kind of involve them as to the rationale. So an example I had was a child who boarded a school bus, and a friend gave him a candy that was, you know, red or yellow, and the child ate the candy and didn't know that actually the candy had stuff that the child was allergic to, and came off the school bus in a panic, all red and flushed, and the parents were like, what happened? And so other children that I've met, you know, for example, have been so sheltered, they, for example, did not know what peanut butter smellers look like. And so it's important for the child to know which foods are no foods. You can show them pictures. If you're comfortable with showing them what it smells like, you know, yogurt, cheese. If you are not, then, you know, at least, you know, pictures and telling them what kind of foods that may contain these things. So it's important to review all these things with your child as it goes along in life. And the hard part is that so many accidents occur because the child trusts that someone else has looked at a package.
Right.
And so, you know, the best way to protect the child is to know that the child also says, you know, and reminds adults or other friends, I can't have that, you know, because I'm allergic to XYZ. Does it have this? And we've seen young little kids even say that, and they're adorable.
Yeah, like, no, I'm allergic to milk. Yes, I remember those days for sure. Yeah. So including the kids, I mean, you have to be careful with that smelling thing, but I'm sure in some cases it's helpful. But looking at the foods, even just going through the grocery store with mom, where mom can point out, this is a no, this is a no. If you're in the candy aisle or something, and you're seeing an aisle where there would be a lot of things maybe coming in for school, you know, Hostess Debbie treats or something like that, like these, pointing out the no's instead of always focusing on the yeses when it's appropriate for your kid. Talking about what a reaction feels like. I've done that with my kiddo a lot.
Right. Fantastic.
So if they've had them before, which it's always not fun when your kid has an allergic reaction, but I always say there's always a learning aspect to anything that happens in our lives and in food allergy life, and we can go over and talk about the different feelings that he had when he had the cookie that was contaminated or accidentally ate 2 bites of cheese or whatever. So going over your kiddo, there's some great resources out there where it's like a real simple body picture and it says what happens with each part of the body during an allergic reaction, and that would kind of be a good visual for kids. You know, if your heart is beating really fast, or your head feels confused, or...
And treating the kids early how to use the auto injectors is not difficult, especially with some of the new ones like AviQ. That's very easy to use. And so, you know, they can practice on their teddy bears. There's lots of trainers that can practice themselves, so that even, you know, if they're in a situation where the adult is not comfortable doing it, maybe they're with a grandpa or grandma who's not comfortable doing it, at least they get the concept and they potentially could do it themselves.
Right. We hear people doing it with oranges.
Yes, you just don't want a real one, because actually many of the EpiPens or epinephrine auto injectors that go off are actually parents trying to discharge them or trying to practice with a real one on a device, and then they end up sticking themselves.
Yeah, that's not good.
So,
but it's great they have trainers. Yes, trainers out there to do on the teddy bear or something. Right. That's so sweet.
But if you want a real live experience, you can come to my office. We keep expired EpiPens for that reason, so people can train. So you can come.
Really?
And we'll hold a session and teach you how to use it.
There you go. We could do that for sure. Teaching the kids how to read labels, to ask if it's safe, learning not to share their food with others, not to take food that people want to share with them. This is your food, and you only eat what mom sends with you. Practice. I put down practice. What was I talking about there from your list? Practice.
Oh, an
their little
emergency.
kit. Okay,
Yes.
Practice an emergency and what they would do. Gosh, that's so big. I mean, we do fire drills, tornado drills, all these things in school because practice in an emergency is so important.
Yeah.
And it's no different with food allergy.
And the probability is that a food allergy emergency is more likely to happen than any of these other crazy drills.
That's true. So we should be doing those with our kids. Do you have any explanation of what that looks like?
Well, you could practice at home, and, you know, kind of like, you know, if somebody knocks on the door and they're trying to burgle in your house, what would you do? You set up the same scenario. You know, what would happen if you would eat something or somebody came over, you're at somebody else's house. Let's go through the steps of what you would do. You know, call 911, you know, find out where your EpiPen is.
Gosh, I want to do that with my boys today. I've always verbalized what to do, but we've never pretended it's happening, and I think that there's a lot of value in that.
Yes, and you know, there's other scenarios I can think of. For example, you know, college student comes home and he had just packed and had all of the stuff in his suitcase, was having an allergic reaction on the road, and then mom didn't know where any of his stuff was. She didn't know where the EpiPens were and things like that. And so, you know, knowing those things, where they are in your house, just like you would know where your fire ladder is and your fire extinguishers are. And
that is a story, isn't it? I've heard that story. Yeah. Okay, so that's wonderful. And then create a medical kit with them. So whatever they're going to be carrying or knowing where it's at, that they kind of know what it looks like with their medicine in there.
What they have, how to use it.
Yeah. Instead of just knowing somewhere out there I have an EpiPen at school, them to actually just know what that kit looks like. All right, the next one. Let's see. We've already covered written plans, visiting your allergist, meeting with the school, reviewing with your child, and I like this one, FOMO. So how do you say it, or is it FOMO?
Yes. For those of you who don't know what it means, it's the fear of missing out. And so one of my big pieces of advice is that, you know, there's so many rich activities and experiences that your child could go through, especially these days. You know, the world has come to us, essentially. And so I see this a lot where people have the fear of missing out. So what I like to say is that, you know, not attending a potentially dangerous event is not going to kill you, but attending it may kill you. And I don't want to cause anxiety or unnecessary concern. But, you know, if you're not sure about the situation, we see this all the time. I mean, you guys are on the Facebook groups just like I am. People are like, you know, I want to attend this event, but, you know, they're going to have, you know, tons of nuts all over the place, and people are going to be throwing them around. I don't know what the scenario is. They're going to be milling them into the ground, and, you know, just, you know, and then there's going to be, you know, milk cheese festival where the child's going to go, and, you know, shakes are going to be thrown in their face. I don't know.
Cream face parties and stomping nuts and... And we really shouldn't have to miss out on this, right?
Yes, and I'm thinking, if you can't, you know that you'll be reasonably safe, you know, you don't have to attend. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill your child. If you're a loving parent, you can think of an alternative activity. Think of it as an excuse to spend more time with your kids, or do something else. Don't make a big deal about it.
That's what I do. Whenever I want to do something completely ludicrous and, you know, spend too much money, and then I just find something that we can't do, and then I'm like, this is when we are going to go to that water park, because I'd rather spend $100 at the water park than go to that unsafe event. So yeah, that's how moms can justify doing all those cool things that they feel guilty paying for.
And just think about you growing up. I mean, you turned out just fine, and you didn't have, a pap party every single weekend, and, all these crazy activities you went to.
We all missed things as kids for one reason or another, I remember my mom forgetting my friend's birthday party, so guess what? I didn't get to go. It wasn't because of an allergy, it was just I didn't go. So you're saying just common sense, if it is too dangerous, don't be afraid to say no. And if there's reasonable accommodations that, there's a better chance you'll be okay, then get out there and have some fun.
Sounds good, yeah.
All right. The next one's important, bullying. Do you have something quick on that?
Bullying's a tough one. It's hard to control what's going to happen to your child at school, especially with other children who just really don't know anything. I think that, if you can identify who the person is causing the problem, I'm sure that their parents are not, condoning their child, causing a potentially life-threatening reaction to your child. So, a conversation would be important. But if so, anytime you can prepare your child in advance about how to deal with a situation is always helpful, because they'll get the idea. So it's just about learning how to do anything, potty training, etc. If they anticipate something's going to happen, you walk them through it, then it's helpful. So you can, say it's very simply, and you don't have to use the words. You could say, you might encounter a situation, maybe in, the kids speak, where, somebody chases you with something or tries to put something on your skin, and then you can ask them about, what they would think they would do. I'd say 90% of the time the kids usually, get the right answer. They don't say, slap them in the face.
Right. Go tell my teacher, those kind of things. If somebody's teasing you about your food allergy. But I love that, for us to do the work and be proactive before school starts, to start the conversation with our kids, so when it happens, they recognize it as not a good thing. Because, I can see young kids even not knowing that's not nice. So starting that early and letting them maybe do the little practice again, a little bully drill where
walking away, not escalating the situation, removing yourself from danger, all those things are, number one, because they have to be safe before anything else, right?
Coming home, letting you know, I don't know all the bullying protocol because we homeschool, but there's a lot of great resources out there, and walk through them with your kiddos and prepare them ahead of time. I wouldn't even have thought of that. So this list has been amazing. The older kids, you had some great notes about older students.
Yes, so we're talking about now high school students, hopefully high school students and beyond, college students. So when you visit your allergist, you also want to ask about, letters for accommodation if that's what you need. So we've written letters for kids who need their own kitchens. We've written letters for kids who need air conditioning and, all these other things that, people might need because their allergies are so bad. And of course, if they're getting things like shots or OIT or immunotherapy, you want to think about and plan in advance what, that might look like. If they have a health student center, is there another allergist who's willing to administer the same kind of treatments near them, those kind of things. And, same thing. Is there a student health center? What happens in an emergency? Does everybody call 911? But the more important thing is, again, educating your child about experiences in life, because they're going to be off, whether they go to a private school or they go to college or they're even homeschooled, but they're off at a camp for a couple weeks, is about the experiences they might have, because kids are kids. And sometimes they don't always have the right decision-making capacity at that age.
Right.
And so you want to talk about the things that might happen, do kids get inebriated? Yes, they do. Do kids have experiences where they might lose control? Yes, they do. It's important to talk about the fact that they, really with a life-threatening food allergy, they should try their best not to be in a situation where they're going to be not cognizant about their body and what's being administered to them or given to them.
Right. And that's the age where they probably don't want to talk to us.
Yeah.
So this checklist for parents is to really make sure you can get that done with your child, with your older child, that you can have this conversation. Just be like, let's just. Even my 12-year-old now says, "I know, Mom." You know what I mean? I just took him somewhere to come do this interview. And he's like, "I know, we've already," and I'm like, "I know, but the more I remind you." I said, in 6 years, I hope you know it all, because you're going to be on your own. So let's just keep reviewing it right now. So I can see a little bit of pushback that might come from the bigger kids, but it's worth it for us parents to hammer it home a few more times, because
And
can
college
make a difference.
students are, college students. There are going to be so many new experiences. They're going to be trying to figure out their schedules and where to get food and where to do this and where to do that. And again, you have to emphasize the basic rules, which is stay safe, know what you put in your mouth. Don't trust other people to, know. Just because somebody says, oh yeah, I made this juice for you and it doesn't have any milk product doesn't mean that they know.
Yeah.
Because they have very limited experience.
Because they didn't know yogurt in the juice was milk.
Right.
Something like that,
Yes. There's so many things that can happen with college students. Even little things you may want to talk about, perhaps your child has already had the experience, but perhaps not. But things such as, I have a severe milk allergy and I want to start holding hands with the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever.
Right.
So those kind of experiences you do have to talk about. It causes young people a lot of anxiety. And so you don't have to make it kind of gross.
Right.
You could just say, listen, you should have a conversation with, your friend, your buddy, even, that you might have physical contact with. So these things are important to talk about.
I love it. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not there yet. You might have to counsel me when I get there, Dr. Siri. All right, that is all fantastic. Let me recap really quickly our back to school tips. The overlying theme, preparation is key. Number 1, get those written plans. There's several of them, 504s, asthma, allergy. Get those printed off and ready to go. Visit your allergist, figure out your latest status in food allergy and asthma, so then you can turn around and do number 3, go meet with the school and let them know what you're dealing with medically and figure out the best help that you can get for that. Talk to your children and review with them. We talked about bullying, skipping out on things that are uber dangerous, common sense, and how to talk to the older kids. All great stuff.
Yes.
So many great tips.
Yeah. And of course, preparation and common sense we can't, underestimate, because, if they're going to eat a packaged food that, has something that, that doesn't state explicitly that it has this food protein, but that they have a very similar product that looks or smells or whatever exactly like your product, but it has those food proteins. As companies are not required to disclose if there are trace amounts or if there's basically cross-contamination, potential cross-contamination. If it's in the food, they're just required to disclose it. But if it's in the same processed in the same factory, they're not required to disclose it. So they have to use common sense.
Yeah, good tip about production. That's for sure. Huge topic at Milk Allergy Mom. We got a couple of questions from our members inside of the support group, and I always promise that we will answer their questions when we can. So overall, this was a good wrap-up question. What's the most important thing to know when starting school with food allergies, and probably meaning ever going back to school with food allergies? But the most important thing is you've kind of said, be prepared and plan.
Yes.
Is that kind of your biggest thing, you think?
Yeah, and the 504 plan is only as good as the person filling it out. So, don't just hand your doctor a blank piece of paper and say, can you do this for me? I mean, you have to,
That's true. Yes.
So, you should be thoughtful about, if you want your doctor or doctor staff to fill it out, about what you would like to negotiate what it says.
I would want my allergist to fill it out.
Or maybe a practice one where you filled some of it out and basically, maybe they can copy what you've put on if they agree or whatever. So, so part of that preparation is knowing what you how to be prepared in your mind as well. So if for example, child is allergic to milk and then they say, well, the substitution on the 504 plan, and they just put simply soy. I mean, whoever's reading the form, will not necessarily know all those details, so it's only as good as the person filling it out.
That is a good point. Yeah. Good. That's a great point. And I think I had a funny question that I said that I would ask. I didn't tell you I was going to ask this.
Okay,
it's just funny.
Sure.
So the girls in the group were saying, when is Dr. Siri going to have an office in Florida? And when is Dr. Siri going to have an office in Tennessee? And then they were arguing over which place you should go first. And granted, we're in Illinois, so this is all hypothetical.
Those sound like lovely places to live.
And one said, I have the beach. And then one said, well, I have Elvis. And then we decided that we should ask you if you're an Elvis fan or not. Because I said, I'm going to ask her on the video because you guys are cracking me up.
I have actually been to Graceland. It was amazing. I even have Coca-Cola bottles that say Graceland on them.
That's awesome. Okay,
and of
very
course,
good.
I trained in Florida, University of South Florida. I love Florida.
Okay, all right. Well, very good. Well, just to say all of that to say that we think you're amazing. We appreciate all the help and knowledge that you Share with us at Milk Allergy Mom, and we do wish that you were in every state for everybody, because everybody needs a good doctor like you. If their doctor is not as good as you, then they should be looking for another doctor.
You're very kind.
That's my tip.
There's plenty of awesome allergists out there.
There are a lot of good allergists, but you're one of our favorites, of course. Thank you for doing this with us. We hope that you guys are feeling better equipped to do back to school with food allergies and asthma, and we hope that you guys have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, bye.